You know those people who walk into a room and everything shifts. No one interrupts them. No one wastes their time. Their words carry weight. What's their secret? What do they possess that you don't? Here's the truth that's going to sting. It's not intelligence. It's not money. It's not success. They've mastered a single psychological principle you were never taught. Something so devastatingly simple that once you grasp it, you'll never see human interaction the same way again. Picture this. Someone cuts in line. You stay silent. A friend cancels on you for the third time. You just smile. Someone steals credit for your work. You let it go. You think you're being the bigger person. But here's what's really happening. You're training people to disrespect you. The people who never face this, they're not lucky. They're using a dark secret about human nature that Machiavelli uncovered 5 centuries ago. A secret that separates those who command respect from those who beg for scraps of approval. What if everything you believe about being liked is actually destroying your power? What if every time you bend over backwards to please others, you're programming them to see you as weak? What if the harder you chase approval, the less respect you'll ever earn? This isn't some feel-good self-help fantasy. This is raw, tested psychology that rewrites how people treat you. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some people naturally dominate conversations, while others fade into the background. Why some voices matter, while others are noise. And most crucially, how to become someone who never gets disrespected again. Ready to stop being everyone's backup plan and start being their first choice? Drop this in the comments. Respect over approval. Every person who's ever dismissed you, walked over you, or treated you like you're invisible, shares one thing in common. They knew you needed their approval more than they needed yours. Think carefully. When was the last time you truly respected someone desperate to be liked? Never. Because desperation has a scent. Everyone can smell it from across the room. When being liked becomes your priority, you become predictable. People read you like a book. They know you'll smile through their insults. You'll agree when they're wrong. You'll show up even when they disrespect your time. And once you're predictable, you become disposable. Here's the paradox that most people never grasp. The harder you try to be liked, the less people actually like you. I know it sounds backwards, but consider the people you genuinely respect. Are they constantly seeking your approval? Or are they perfectly content without it? Human psychology is brutally simple. We crave what we can't have. We dismiss what comes too easily. When you chase approval, you're literally devaluing yourself in everyone's eyes. Machiavelli said it best. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He wasn't advocating tyranny. He was exposing the psychology of respect. Fear here doesn't mean terror. It means consequences. When people know there's a price for crossing you, they don't cross you. Look at the people who command real respect in your life. Your toughest teacher, your most demanding boss, that friend who tells you the brutal truth, not what you want to hear. What connects them? They don't need your approval to validate themselves. They have boundaries, and they enforce them without apology. Meanwhile, the people pleasers get overlooked, used, and forgotten. Because when you make yourself available to everyone, you become special to no one. The people who benefit from your need to be liked, they don't respect you for it. Deep down, they see weakness. They might use pleasant words. They might smile to your face. But behind closed doors, they know you're the person they can count on to bend over backwards for crumbs of attention. This is the trap that keeps millions powerless. They believe being nice and agreeable will earn them love and respect. But all it earns them is being taken for granted. Because respect isn't given, it's commanded. And you can't command anything when you're on your knees begging for approval. Drop this in the comments. I choose power. Now that you understand why being liked is sabotaging your life, let's explore what actually works. Respect. Not the polite, surface-level respect people offer out of courtesy. I'm talking about the deep, instinctive respect that makes people think twice before they test you. Respect is built on one fundamental principle: consequence. When people know that crossing you will cost them something, they don't cross you. It's that simple. But when they know they can disrespect you without pushback, they will. Every single time. This is where most people miss the mark. They believe respect comes from being impressive, successful, or talented. But that's not respect, that's admiration. Respect comes from one thing only: refusing to tolerate disrespect. Let me make this crystal clear. When someone disrespects you and you do nothing, you're teaching them that disrespecting you is free. You're literally training them to treat you badly. But when someone disrespects you and there's an immediate consequence, they lose access to you. They lose your help. They lose your presence. They learn fast. They won't make that mistake again. This is why the nicest people often get treated the worst. They've trained everyone around them that bad behavior carries no penalty. They've made themselves safe to disrespect. And once you're safe to disrespect, genuine respect becomes impossible. But when you flip the script, when you make it clear that your time, attention, and energy have actual value, when you show people that disrespecting you comes with a cost, everything shifts. Suddenly people watch their words around you. They think before they act. They treat you like someone who matters. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." People will treat you exactly how you allow them to treat you. No better, no worse. The dark power of respect is that it's self-reinforcing. The more you demand it, the more you receive it. The more you receive it, the easier it becomes to demand it. It's an upward spiral that transforms how everyone perceives you. But here's the crucial difference. When you demand to be liked, you're handing other people control. They decide whether to give you what you want. But when you demand respect, you're in control. Because respect isn't something they give you. It's something you take by refusing to accept anything less. Think about the most respected people in your life. Do they beg for respect? Do they explain why they deserve it? Do they compromise their standards to make others comfortable? Never. They simply refuse to accept disrespect. And that refusal becomes their power. This is what separates the powerful from the powerless. The powerful understand that respect is non-negotiable. The powerless believe respect is something you earn by being extra nice and extra giving. But you can't earn respect by surrendering your power. You earn respect by keeping it. Drop this in the comments. My worth isn't debatable. Here's something that's going to shift your entire perspective. Every single interaction you have is about control. Who controls the conversation? Who controls the relationship? Who controls the outcome? And here's the brutal truth. If you don't know who's in control, it's not you. Approval seekers hand over control without even realizing it. Every time you modify your behavior to earn someone's approval, you're giving them control over your actions. Every time you bite your tongue to avoid conflict, you're surrendering control over your voice. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you're giving them control over your choices. But people who don't need approval, they keep control. They speak their truth regardless of how others react. They make decisions based on what they want, not what others expect. They set the terms of every interaction instead of accepting whatever terms others offer. This is why approval addiction is so dangerous. It's not just about feeling good or bad. It's about who gets to decide what happens in your life. When you need other people's approval to feel okay about yourself, you've essentially handed them the remote control to your emotions. Think about it. When you desperately need someone to like you, you'll do almost anything to keep them happy. You'll change your opinions, hide parts of yourself, compromise your values. You become whatever they want you to be. That's not a relationship. That's slavery with a smile. But when you don't need their approval, when you're perfectly fine with them disliking you if that's what staying true to yourself requires, now you have all the power. Because they can't use your need against you. This is the secret that confident people understand. They're not confident because nothing bothers them. They're confident because they don't let other people's opinions control their self-worth. They've made themselves psychologically untouchable. Machiavelli observed, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The moment you stop performing for approval, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. What happens when you break free from the approval trap? First, people can't manipulate you anymore. They can't push your buttons because you've disconnected the buttons from your actions. They can't guilt you, shame you, or pressure you because those tactics only work on people who need validation. Second, your decision-making becomes crystal clear. Instead of asking, what will make others happy, you start asking, what's best for me? Instead of trying to please everyone, you focus on pleasing the one person whose opinion actually matters, yourself. Third, your relationships improve dramatically. Not all of them. Some people will hate that they can't control you anymore, and they'll disappear. Good. The relationships that survive are real ones, built on mutual respect instead of your desperation for approval. This is the psychological shift that changes everything. From, I hope they like me, to, I don't care if they like me. From, what do they think, to, what do I think? From, I need their approval, to, they need to earn my respect. Drop this in the comments. I control my worth. Let's confront something uncomfortable. Your need for approval isn't just a personality trait, it's an addiction. And like any addiction, it's being weaponized against you by people who understand exactly how it works. Here's the mechanism. Someone gives you a compliment, likes your post, or tells you you're amazing. Your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical released when people use drugs. You feel incredible. And just like any drug, once that high fades, you need another hit. But here's where it gets sinister. The people around you figure out this pattern fast. They learn that a little approval can get you to do almost anything. Need you to work late? A little praise about your work ethic. Need you to lend them money? A compliment about how generous you are. Need you to ignore their bad behavior? Sweet talk about how understanding you are. They're literally using your brain chemistry against you. And the worst part? You're helping them do it by being so desperate for validation that you'll accept whatever scraps they throw your way. This is why approval addiction is so dangerous. It makes you easy to control. People know exactly which buttons to push to get what they want. They don't have to force you or threaten you. They just have to give you a tiny dose of the validation you're craving, and you'll bend over backwards for them. But people who don't need approval, they're impossible to manipulate this way. You can't control someone with compliments if they don't need compliments. You can't manipulate someone with acceptance if they don't crave acceptance. You can't use their emotions against them if their emotions don't depend on your opinion. The brutal truth about validation: it's cheap to give and expensive to receive. Anyone can tell you you're wonderful. It costs them nothing. But for you to feel good about yourself, you need to hear it over and over again from more and more people. You become dependent on something others control completely. Machiavelli wrote, "He who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner affects his ruin than his preservation." When you focus on what others think you should be instead of what you actually are, you destroy your own power. Think about how this plays out in real life. The approval addict changes their personality depending on who they're with. They have different opinions in different groups. They hide parts of themselves that might not be popular. They become a collection of masks instead of a real person. Meanwhile, people who don't need approval stay consistent. They're the same person in every room. They express their real opinions regardless of how others react. They don't hide their authentic selves because they're not afraid of disapproval. And ironically, this authenticity makes them more respected and more genuinely liked than any people pleaser ever will be. But breaking approval addiction isn't easy. Your brain will fight you every step of the way. It will tell you that without others' approval, you'll be alone and rejected. It will make you feel guilty for not caring what others think. It will try to pull you back into the pattern of seeking validation. This is where discipline comes in. You have to consciously choose to stop seeking approval, even when every fiber of your being wants to chase it. You have to be willing to be disliked, misunderstood, and criticized. You have to value your own opinion more than the opinions of everyone else combined. Drop this in the comments. My validation comes from within. Now we get to the practical application. The rules that will transform you from someone who gets walked on to someone who commands respect without saying a word. These aren't just theories. These are tested principles that work every single time. Most people talk too much and do too little. They explain themselves constantly, make excuses, and over-communicate everything. This makes them look weak and desperate for understanding. People who command respect do the opposite. They speak when they have something important to say, and they let their actions speak for them. They don't explain their decisions to people who don't deserve explanations. They don't justify their choices to people who wouldn't make better ones. When someone disrespects you, don't give them a speech about respect. Just remove yourself from their presence. When someone breaks a boundary, don't explain why boundaries matter. Just enforce the consequence. When someone questions your decision, don't defend it. Just stick to it. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Be the fox when you need strategy. Be the lion when you need strength. Simple, but not easy." No matter how much you want someone to like you, never chase their approval. Don't text them repeatedly if they don't respond. Don't explain yourself when they seem upset. Don't try to win them over when they're being cold. Chasing approval broadcasts desperation, and desperation repels respect. Instead, be indifferent to their opinion of you. If they like you, great. If they don't, that's their loss. This indifference is magnetic. It makes people wonder why you don't need their approval, which makes them respect you more. When someone tries to provoke you, insult you, or push your buttons, your reaction determines everything. If you get emotional, defensive, or angry, they win. They've proven they can control your emotions, which means they have power over you. But if you stay completely calm, if you respond to their attack with cold indifference or even slight amusement, you've just shown everyone watching that they can't touch you. You're psychologically bulletproof, and that's terrifying to people who depend on emotional manipulation. Predictable people are easily controlled. When others know exactly how you'll react to every situation, they can manipulate those reactions to get what they want from you. Keep people guessing. Sometimes be generous, sometimes be ruthless, sometimes be social, sometimes be distant, sometimes help others, sometimes put yourself first. This unpredictability keeps others off balance and forces them to respect your autonomy. Machiavelli observed, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." Don't be predictably nice. Don't be predictably mean. Be strategically both. When someone crosses a line, the speed and clarity of your response matters more than the severity. A swift, proportional consequence teaches the lesson better than a delayed, harsh punishment. And silence often speaks louder than explanations. Don't warn people multiple times. Don't give second chances to the same behavior. Don't explain why their behavior was wrong. Just implement the consequence immediately and move on. This teaches everyone around you that your boundaries are real, not suggestions. Drop this in the comments. I am unmovable. Here's something most people get backwards. They think being constantly available makes them valuable. They think always saying yes makes them indispensable. They think giving unlimited access to their time and attention makes them loved. They're wrong on every count. Scarcity creates value, always has, always will. When something is rare, people want it more. When something is common, people take it for granted. This applies to money, objects, opportunities, and most importantly, you. When you're always available, you become background noise in people's lives. They know you'll always be there, so they stop appreciating your presence. They know you'll always say yes, so they stop valuing your cooperation. They know you'll always forgive them, so they stop worrying about hurting you. But when your time becomes scarce, when your attention becomes limited, When your forgiveness becomes conditional, suddenly people start treating these things like the precious resources they actually are. Think about the people who have the most social power in any group. Are they the ones who show up to everything and agree with everyone? Never. They're the ones who show up when they want to, leave when they're ready, and say no without explanation. Their selective presence makes their actual presence more valuable. This is the power of strategic distance. Not being cold or cruel, but being selective about where you invest your energy. Not being mean to people, but not being endlessly available to them either. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are." The less people see of you, the more they wonder about you. And curiosity is magnetic. How this plays out practically. Instead of responding to every text immediately, respond when it's convenient for you. Instead of being available for every hangout, become selective about which invitations you accept. Instead of helping everyone who asks, help people who deserve it. This isn't about being rude or selfish. It's about understanding that your time and energy are finite resources and treating them accordingly. When you give these resources away freely to everyone, they become worthless. When you give them selectively to people who appreciate them, they become priceless. The beautiful thing about scarcity is that it's self-reinforcing. The less available you become, the more people want your attention. The more they want your attention, the better they treat you to get it. The better they treat you, the more selective you can afford to be. It's an upward spiral of respect and influence. But you have to be willing to lose some people in this process. The people who only valued you because you were easy to access will disappear when you become selective. Good. These weren't real relationships anyway. They were just people taking advantage of your availability. The people who stick around, the ones who respect your boundaries and appreciate your selective presence. These are the relationships worth having. They're based on mutual respect instead of your desperation to please. Distance also gives you perspective. When you're not constantly trying to manage everyone else's emotions and opinions, you can actually think clearly about what you want. When you're not always reacting to other people's demands, you can be proactive about your own goals. This is why the most powerful people often seem slightly detached. It's not that they don't care, it's that they don't care too much. They understand that emotional distance is necessary for clear thinking and good decision-making. So what happens when you actually implement these principles? When you stop chasing approval and start commanding respect? When you replace your addiction to being liked with the power of being respected? Everything changes. And I mean everything. First, your relationships improve dramatically. Not all of them. Some people will hate the new you because they can't manipulate you anymore. But the relationships that survive become deeper and more genuine. People start relating to the real you instead of the people-pleasing mask you used to wear. Second, your confidence skyrockets. Not fake confidence that depends on validation, but real confidence that comes from knowing your worth isn't up for debate. You stop second-guessing yourself because you stop caring if others agree with your choices. Third, opportunities start coming to you instead of you chasing them. People start seeking your opinion because they know you'll give them the truth, not what they want to hear. They start offering you better positions because they know you won't just accept whatever they give you. Fourth, your stress levels drop through the floor. When you stop trying to manage everyone else's emotions and opinions, life becomes so much simpler. You can focus on what actually matters instead of constantly worrying about who you might have upset. But the most important change? You become psychologically free. Free from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval and avoiding disapproval. Free from the need to be someone different for everyone you meet. Free to be authentically yourself without apology or explanation. Machiavelli once said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." Your worth doesn't come from what others think of you. It comes from what you think of yourself and how you choose to show up in the world. This transformation isn't instant, and it's not always comfortable. You'll be tempted to slip back into old patterns when things get difficult. You'll second-guess yourself when people react negatively to your new boundaries. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh when you enforce consequences. But stick with it, because on the other side of this discomfort is a version of yourself you've probably never met. Someone who commands respect without demanding it, who attracts genuine relationships without chasing them, who has real power without abusing it. The world is full of people desperately trying to be liked, but it's desperately short of people who command genuine respect. Which one will you choose to be? If you've made it this far, you're already different from most people. Most people can't handle uncomfortable truths about themselves and their relationships. Most people would rather stay comfortable and powerless than face the reality of how they've been giving their power away. But you're still here, which means you're ready for the transformation. From someone who gets walked on to someone who gets respected. From someone who begs for approval to someone who doesn't need it. From someone who gives their power away to someone who keeps it. Remember, this isn't about becoming cold or cruel. It's about becoming strong. It's about understanding your worth and refusing to accept anything less than respect. It's about breaking free from the approval addiction that's been controlling your life and stepping into the power that's been waiting for you all along. The principles we've covered today, speaking less and acting more, never chasing approval, staying calm under attack, remaining unpredictable, enforcing boundaries swiftly, and using scarcity strategically. These aren't just tactics. They're a way of life, a way of moving through the world that commands respect automatically. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Don't be the person who waits until they've been walked on for years before they finally decide to stand up for themselves. Start today. Start now. Start with the very next interaction you have. Your future self, the one who commands respect, who has genuine relationships, who doesn't need anyone's approval to feel complete, is waiting for you to make this decision. The only question is, how long are you going to make them wait? If this video opened your eyes to how you've been giving your power away, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more content that cuts through the noise and gives you real tools for personal power. The journey from people pleaser to respected individual starts with a single step. You've just taken it by watching this video. Now take the next one by implementing what you've learned. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. Respect is my birthright. Remember, in a world full of people begging to be liked, the person who doesn't need approval holds all the cards. Be that person. Command the respect you deserve, and watch how everything in your life transforms when you finally stop giving your power away.